the statistics of abuse. Hello there, and welcome to Cannonball Diva Chronicles, where uplifting the downtrodden is our focus. I'm Cannonball Diva. I'm a nurse practitioner and an ICU nurse, and today I'd like to talk about the statistics of abuse in men and women. It's common knowledge that men and women suffer from domestic abuse. As a matter of fact, 1 in 4 women will suffer some kind of abuse in their lives, be it domestic, be it emotional, sexual, otherwise, while 1 in 6 or 7 men will suffer abuse, domestic abuse in their lives. Therefore, it's very important that we address how to control, how to keep abuse in check in both sexes. Men as a whole are usually the ones that have the physical strength to protect themselves, usually from physical abuse, while women are usually the victims in such cases. But when it comes to emotional abuse and other forms of abuse, a woman can be as bad a perpetrator as the man, because when you open your mouth to say evil things to your partner and you continue to do it on a long-term basis, that has made you actually somebody that is a perpetrator of abuse, because you don't need physical strength to emotionally abuse somebody. I'd like to talk about things that can be done, that we can do as people to prevent this from happening to us. Being aware of yourself and being aware of your own strengths, number 1. Having a very high self-esteem to start with is very important, or having a strong sense of self as a person is as important as anything else that you might have physically, be it physical strength or the ability to have financial power to leave that relationship. Being self-assured and being self-reliant and also having a high sense of resilience is very important. How can we build resilience? Personally, I find that building resilience comes from maybe our background is a very important way of having that resilience. What did we as people endure in our own families growing up? What did we see our parents doing? What were we exposed to as children or people while we're in school? What kind of friends have we mixed with, and how have we gone about living our lives on a daily basis, and what kind of resources do we have to implement maybe some self-care regimens when we do find ourselves in a situation where we're being exposed to any kind of negative environment. Having a strong sense of self allows us to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, knowing our self-worth and not allowing anyone to talk down to us. Even when people do decide to manipulate us by talking down to us or doing things against us, being self-aware and knowing what our strengths is helps us not fall victim. Another thing I find might be very helpful is reading a lot of books, exposing ourselves to knowledge of what's out there and what can be done when we're in a tight situation. Learning from other people's mistakes, what others have done. Usually you find this in a lot of books, self-help books, motivational books, or even some podcasts. Now that we're in the internet age, you can go online and hear a lot of women talking about what they've experienced and learning from what they did to protect themselves and to overcome challenges they found themselves in. Men, on the other hand, can do the same, as well as seeking for a brotherhood or a counseling group that they can talk to, because many men find it hard to actually expose the fact that they're being emotionally abused by their wives. And many of them who are suffering from narcissistic wives find it difficult to tell the world or tell a person or a friend about it, because they're completely embarrassed that they'll be judged for being weak. Women also have usually this ideology or belief that people will judge them because they believe that they are not protecting themselves from such abuse. And most times people just prefer not to say anything. There are many people out there today suffering from all sorts of abuse and suffering from all kinds of inhumane treatment. While they suffer these secretly and privately, they come out in public and act otherwise. A lot of people have taken their own lives. A lot of people have ended their own lives because of what they are suffering secretly. So it's very important that we keep stressing the fact that there's help out there. One person is not God to determine what eventually happens to a life because of their evil behavior, because it's evil to be manipulative and to say evil things with our mouth. The Bible tells us that the power of life and death is in the tongue. So when someone opens their mouth and says all sorts of evil to their fellow man, not knowing the kind of hurt and the kind of pain they're eliciting in that person's heart, it is really, really evil to do that, because while the person who has spoken such evil things can walk away and forget that they've said those things to them, the person who has heard this being said to them is not as fortunate. They go on for days, years, months, remembering what has been said to them. And some of them actually believe these things and they take it to heart and they begin to judge themselves based on this. That is why, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is very important to have a good sense of self. Believing in yourself and having a good sense of resilience, that even that bounce back syndrome, being able to bounce back in the face of difficulty is really important. Because one thing that the narcissist hates is the fact that after they've spoken down to you and said all kinds of evil to you, you are still able to go on your day, go about your activities as if nothing happened. It's not to say that the things they said or did didn't hurt you. You're just able to let it slide down your back and just put what's important before you, your daily activities. And that is another reason why I'm going to mention the next step I think is really important. Having a self-care regimen and having a routine, a day-to-day routine that you follow, it's really, really important. That routine is something that you find to be helpful for yourself, be it going to the gym or be it doing any activity that brings joy to you, gets your mind off the day-to-day grind of your activities that remind you of what's happening in your life. Getting yourself out there and taking advantage of things that bring joy to you. I personally have mentioned in the past that I like going to the sauna. I just enrolled in a new gym that's kind of like a 5-star gym, because why? It's important that self-care is number one in a list of things that I do for myself, because I work very hard. And when you think about the gym and the things that it can give you, it's not only about just physical exercises or aerobics. It's more like other things that are involved in that gym. The warm sauna, warm yoga, which I'm not really hard about because I know yoga is not a Christian thing as far as I've read. But the fact that you can stretch in a warm environment, that just makes your limbs more limber and your joints less stiff. For someone who is always exercising, you need to also stretch and also do warm-up exercises so that you don't start to get like stiff joints and also painful muscles, which I find recently I've been experiencing. So, getting yourself stretched before you start exercising and also stretching afterwards is really important. So warm-up is important before exercising, and stretching after is really important to keep your joints limber and not stiff and painful after many episodes of exercising. Having that routine, like I mentioned earlier, is important because you automatically begin to do things without thinking about them. You get into a routine where if it's you wake up in the morning, say your prayers, meditate, come out, go out of the house to exercise, go for a walk or you jog, then come back, and then just little things that you find enjoyable for yourselves. A lot of people would say they like going out with friends. If that's one thing you enjoy doing, you can schedule that into your day to get your mind off things that bring you pain or stress you out. Men can also do the same. Staying away from drugs and alcohol is really important, because I know that many people fall back on taking drugs or alcohol to get their minds off the stresses of their daily activities or their experiences in their relationships. Anything that they feel can help, they go for. But at the end of the day, taking drugs and drinking alcohol only ends up compounding and complicating issues in the long term, because aside from it causing long-term complications and disease to liver and the organs of the body, it also causes us not to be focused when we need to actually take action when we find ourselves in dire straits or in difficult situations. So it's good to keep our mind alert and all our body ready, physically, mentally, spiritually, and otherwise, just to be ready for any kind of emergency It's very important to be alert. As they say in the hospital, alert and oriented. Your GCS is 15. You are like alert and you are ready to take care of yourself and your family, as opposed to being inundated with so much stressors that you end up doing things that eventually even make life harder, like taking drugs and getting involved or indulging in activities that will only make life harder for you in the long term. So men, women alike should focus on keeping mind, body, spirit as pure and as healthy as possible, because already in life we know that things can turn out really difficult, because life is just hard generally. This world, they said this world in which we live in, the Bible tells us that this world this world has been taken over by many evil things. Even though the earth belongs to God, the earth was created by God. The God of this world is Satan. So many evil things happen every day. But this is not our permanent world. This is not our permanent home. Our permanent home is heaven, And for those who are not Christian, I believe that many other religions believe that there's a final destination for all of us. And this world, as we all know it, is not our final destination. So we then should remember that, keeping that in mind, should not let what inundates us in this world and the troubles of this world to completely cause us to lose hope and cause us to become so challenged that we can't see straight. We should remember that troubles will come. The Bible tells us, even though it's not of the Lord, it's not the Lord's will that we should continue to experience trouble, but the God of this world has sent so many challenges so that he might cause many to fall. But we should remember that at the end of the day, if we stand steadfast and trust in God, we will not fail. And despite all the things that we might be experiencing, all the negativity that we might see on a daily basis, we are more than conquerors and we are overcomers in this world. And I want you guys to remember that in this world, you see a lot of evil being perpetrated by men. And I'd like to point out that those people who do not believe that, it's wrong to abuse, the men who go about their lives and who have relationships where they abuse their partners and their wives. I'm addressing this to men because of what we see in the nursing homes and the long-term care facilities nowadays. A lot of men are lonely. Once they get into these long-term care facilities, they are left and abandoned there by their loved ones. These people who they have maltreated all their lives, they have neglected their wives, their partners, their children for many years. And they, at this point, when they have reached a point in their life where they're sick, they're weak, they can no longer care for themselves, and their families dump them in nursing homes. I'll use the word dump because at the end of the day, they leave them there and they never visit. We see a lot of black men, especially in these situations, because domestic abuse is more rampant in the black community. That's what research shows. The black community indeed fosters more abuse. You see a lot of abuse, domestic abuse, especially in the black community than in other communities, which is unfortunate. And going to these nursing homes and long-term care facilities and seeing a lot of black men lonely, while you have other people from other different ethnic groups having visitors on a day-to-day basis. Why do we have our black men languishing in these nursing homes without visitors? Why? And many nurses will tell you this. A lot of them do not get visitors because of the way they've treated their spouses and their children. For those men, those of you who are African and Nigerian, who feel you can escape by going to Africa. Oh, I can just go to Africa. I'll stay in the village. I'll live my life out in joy and peace. I miss people that love me and care for me. Even the villagers that can show me love. My children, whether my children come or they don't come, I can have more children. I can marry other wives that will bow down to me. I know a lot of African men think like this. But I tell you something. Those of you that do not believe in God are the ones that would think that way. And if that's the way you're thinking, let me remind you, even if you don't believe in God, you must believe in the law of karma, right? Karma, what goes around comes around. So if you maltreat your wife of your youth, someone who's been by your side for years, stuck by you, worked with you, built all that you have with you, even if she didn't build anything with you but was there to support you, and you turn your back on her or abuse her and your children, and then you turn around to think that you will live your life joyfully and happily. Life is not like that. It's whatever you reap. Whatever you sow, you will reap. You sow evil, you can't expect to reap joy. You sow good, that is when you expect to reap good, except there's a demonic factor in it. But then I always say this: no matter what the enemy plans for you, as long as your hands are clean and you trust in the living God, no weapon fashioned against you shall prosper. It's only those who expose themselves to doing evil in the dark and they come out in light to pretend to be something else. God cannot be mocked, so he sees everything that's being done in secret. So you pretend to be good and lovely and happy and kind in the public, but while you're in private, you do all kinds of evil and expect that people will be hoodwinked or deceived. God cannot be mocked and God can never be deceived. So whatever you sow, you shall reap. That is one thing I know. I hope that you all are doing well. Please continue to show love to your fellow man and stay blessed. Thank you for tuning to Cannibal Diva Chronicles. Have a blessed day.